I'm Alfred Edmonds Jr., Senior Vice President and Executive Editor.
I'm Alisa Gumbs, the Vice President and Deputy Chief Content Officer.
And we are Black Enterprise.
It's good to have a partner in crime that will absolutely just say okay to whatever you have to say okay to, because that's hard to find, especially in publishing.
But the other thing is to have a friend who will tell you when you're wrong. And that's when you really got to trust the person. I trust her implicitly. If she says, I know you think that's right, but that's not right.
And it's the way that she says it that you're like, okay?
That she says it. Doesn't matter how she says it.
Okay, nice.
Lisa is right. Because she wouldn't check me if it didn't need to be checked. And there's other people who don't take that wisdom.
Yeah.
There's other people you try to check, and then they find out the hard way. You know, Lisa told us, but she tried.
So how long have you two been working together?
This year is my 20th year at Black Enterprise.
Are you serious? Talk about job stability, okay? That is amazing.
My 36th year at Black Enterprise.
No.
March 4th, 1987 was my first day on the job.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, because we've seen like how the old editor style, did things, and the old writers. Like, I come from the days of when I first started writing with Sister to Sister magazine. Mm-hmm. And even though it was entertainment, the thing I loved about Jamie is she was built on facts, just not...
Oh, you mean journalism? Really?
Journalism, yeah, real journalism.
We call journalism? Yes.
Yes.
We remember, we still practice it. We have a dying breed apparently, but we still practice it.
Yes, so now when you have new writers that are coming in and they just want to freelance, and you're like, okay, wait a minute, we're reputable, so what is this based on? Is there a misconception, do you think, amongst new writers of the way stories are to be told and things are supposed to be presented? Do you see the difference in how it used to be and the writers that come in today?
I was just having this conversation yesterday with our Director of Digital Content, because for Black Enterprise, credibility is always foremost. We were built to help African Americans build wealth, and you cannot go out there giving wrong information to people when it is as serious as their pocketbooks and their family and their children and their legacy. And so it will always be important to us, even in a digital world.
Yes.
Even when, the platforms have now expanded beyond print to be podcasts or video or whatever it is, the facts have to be right, the information has to be credible, our audience has to trust us. And we have always said that our audience is us. So, we care for them like we care for ourselves, like we care for our families. And new writers learn that quickly.
Or they don't make it with us. I mean, we know that the industry changes around us, but every media platform has a responsibility to uphold its own standards.
Right.
And at least lay them out. We're talking about people who may sell their house to start a business. They're trying to figure out how they're going to pay for their college education. If we give them wrong information to make those decisions, then we're doing a disservice to them, which is doing a disservice to us, because the more successful the Black Enterprise audience is, the more successful and more money that we make. We're inextricably tied together with our fortunes. So it doesn't matter what everybody else does. There are writers who can't work for us. Either they won't or they try and they can't, because we do maintain that standard.
Yes, I thought that was an important question, because there's a thin line. I remember the days when bloggers were not even allowed on red carpets for that very reason. And starting as a PR person, I remember the days of, but I still do this, going down to see who's on the carpet and only going to individual ones, because I already know how it's going to go down. Sometimes you just know.
I just want to be a champion. There are bloggers and podcasters and quote-unquote new media professionals who still practice good journalism.
Yes.
It doesn't matter, as Alisa said, the means of distributions have changed.
Yes.
That's fine. I don't think a blogger is less credible than a writer for the New York Times. But it's not where you're sharing the information, it's what are your standards of reporting.
Yes.
And if your standards of reporting are high, I don't care if it's a podcast, a TV show, a radio show, social media posts, doesn't matter. It's still about the credibility of the journalism. And so once upon a time, I think everybody kind of discriminated against bloggers because they were seen as amateur journalists.
Right.
But a lot of the bloggers and podcasts today are really great journalism.
Yes.
And it's part of why we're here with this Disruptor Summit. I mean, you don't need a publishing company behind you anymore to be a publisher, to be a content creator. But you do still need, as Alfred said, to have good editorial judgment, to have good standards in this era when anyone can do it, or when AI can do it for you, and there's such a difference in between what is fake, and we have an audience that's not always educated about that. It becomes more important than ever.
Yes, and that is one of the reasons I always look to Black enterprise, to see people like me, even as in my younger years, because it's so factual, actual, and to see these people did it, they look just like me. What's the difference between them and myself?
Yes.
So I applaud you. 36 years, 20 plus years in the business, like that is amazing. What is it that makes journalism your passion? Alisa?
I've known I wanted to be a journalist ever since I was 16. I took my first media class and I fell in love. And at that time, it was because journalists have the power to set the agenda. Whatever people talked about at their dinner table every night was dependent on what came on the 6 o'clock news.
Yes.
And so now it's different. We don't sit around and watch the news or have dinner together, many of us, but you still have your group chat. And I promise you that what you're talking about is whatever it is that, those people who are the gatekeepers, who are the conversation starters, have said, this is what we're focused on for the day.
Right.
And I wanted to make sure that we were a part of setting that conversation, that our stories are told.
Yes.
Yeah, we came to the same place, but from different directions. I didn't study journalism at all. My degree is actually in art, with a minor in economics that I never thought I'd use. And then I got to Black Enterprise, and I had a place for it. But
Awesome.
when I was an undergraduate in college, I heard a speech given by the granddaughter of Paul Robeson. I went to Rutgers, so Paul Robeson.
Yes.
But Susan Robeson, who was a producer of a TV show called Like It Is in New York City, hosted by Gin Lobo, was a Black Issues TV show. And she gave a speech on campus called The Battle of the Images. And she made the case that whoever controls the images controls the narrative, and who controls the narrative controls everything else. And that's why the most intransigent, resistant forms of racism are in media. Any place that controls images, from fashion to movies to newspapers and magazines, if you're controlling the imagery, you're controlling the narrative, that's where all racism, I'll say, come from. And when she made that speech, it was like, I need to be in on this conversation of who's controlling the narrative.
Right.
Who's the one that decides who are the good guys, who are the bad guys, whether a Black person is portrayed as a villain or a hero. But most of the people in newsrooms and television, producers aren't people that look like us. They tell the story that they like to tell.
Yes.
And that's what drew me to. So it was about the power of the media and the importance of being able to tell accurate stories, not just Black favorable stories.
Right.
It wasn't about that. It was like, but it's my job to be able to do the reporting to bring out the truth of who we are, because we live in a world that doesn't want to tell the truth of who we are.
Right, and I love that you don't just support celebrity-driven Black excellence. It's the average, everyday person that had an idea, that brought it to fruition, and telling the journey, because that helps so many others learn their journey.
Yeah, there could only be, I could say one Beyonce, those aren't duplicable examples of success.
Right.
Beyonce is not the only talented singer and dancer in the world, and she may not.
No, there's four more. There's always five of us.
No, there are hundreds more. There are thousands more. That's what I'm saying. It's like sports. There are thousands of guys on playgrounds all around the country who have the skills to play pro basketball. There's still only about 3,000 jobs in pro sports in general.
Right.
So to highlight those examples as the only examples of success is to really to kind of just cut ourselves out of many other opportunities. When our goal at Black Enterprises is not only to showcase success, but to showcase how you can duplicate that success. And our late founder, Earl Graves Sr., used to tell us, if you're not telling people how to do it, you're not doing your job.
Right.
It's not enough to show that Oprah has a big house and lots of money, but if you don't know how to get to that pathway to duplicate that success, you may feel good seeing her doing it, but it doesn't change your situation.
Right.
So we have to broaden the definition of success in ways that are duplicable. Everybody's not going to be LeBron James, no matter how talented you are.
Right.
You got to find other ways to showcase success beyond that.
And I think in 2020 you started a podcast for women entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Why was that so important to you?
Well, as Alfred was talking about, controlling the images, I thought specifically about the image of Black women, and how if you look at TV over the past 10 years, you get an image of Black women as, catty, as angry, as people who want to fight with each other. You don't get the image of the Black woman as the CEO,
Right.
as the taste maker, the change maker, the culture pusher, and we are all of those things. Whenever I talk to Black women entrepreneurs, they say we are built for this. Black women are the most resourceful and resilient people that we know, and so being a CEO comes naturally to us, but other people don't necessarily see us that way. And so we wanted to flip that and take the women who are building and scaling businesses every single day and put them in the position of being the expert and let them tell us all how it is that they are doing this, and showcase them in the process. I get to highlight amazing Black women for a living, and I couldn't be, more blessed.
I absolutely love your answer.
There's always a room for people who want to tell good stories over here.
Yes, I wanted to be a journalist since I saw Superman, Lois Lane, and Clark Kent. I was like, I always wanted to be Lois Lane but I'm very intimidated about running behind people, when they're trying to get to the car, asking them the question, because now that TMZ is out, it looks like a bad thing. But when Lois Lane did it, it looked so journalistic, right?
Well, I tell people whenever I sit down to interview them, I'm like, there's nothing for you to be nervous about. We don't do gotcha journalism here at Enterprise. We are not trying to throw curveballs at your head. We are not trying to make you look bad in any way, shape, or form. We are just going to talk to you about things you are 100% an expert in, and that is you and your journey and how you go out and do this every single day.
Yes.
You kick down the doors, you break the barriers, you're a badass Black woman, and we just want people to see that. So there is literally nothing to be nervous about.
Well, there's one thing to be nervous about.
Editing the editor's room?
No. We are still journalists. If you say, we were the top seller in blah, 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 we're not just going to take your word for it. We're going to go check and see. And a mistake that some entrepreneurs make, and is often an honest mistake, because they've been, especially in the age of social media, you're being told to hype yourself every kind of way. And unfortunately, many media outlets do just take their word for it, that they're this and they're that. No, we generally try to go back and say, is this really true?
Right.
It's better to be honest and authentic and say this is, because we have our ways, as business journalists in particular, of finding out whether your sales were really what you said they were, or whether you're doing. So it's important to not get super caught up in the age of hype. My show for Black Enterprise is called Beyond the Hype for that reason. Because we, especially really experienced journalists like Alisa and I, we can pretty much listen to your story and tell whether it's like, this doesn't smell right.
The math ain't mathing.
The math ain't mathing, because we do the math. If everybody else in the industry has 5% profit margins and you come back to me and say you did 20% profit margins last year, I'm gonna need to know what happened, because that's too big a disparity. And we're just experiencing, good business media companies are good at that. We follow the numbers. It's not just the word story, it's the number story.
I absolutely love it. Thank you so much.